For a long time, I believed love was something that only existed in fairy tales. I had spent years building my life, working hard, taking care of my family, and keeping myself busy with everything except love. Every night when I looked out the window, I would see couples walking hand in hand, laughing softly under the moonlight. A part of me longed for that, but I told myself that maybe love just wasn't meant for me. It wasn't that I didn't believe in love. I did. But I had been hurt before, so deeply that I promised myself never to fall again. My friends often said, "One day someone will see your worth and love you for who you are." I smiled politely, pretending to believe them, even though inside I felt empty. One evening, after a long and tiring day at work, I decided to attend a charity gala. I almost didn't go. I wasn't in the mood for fancy dresses or polite conversations, but something inside whispered, "Go. You never know what could happen." So, I put on a simple navy blue gown, tied my hair up, and went. The hall was filled with laughter and the soft sound of a live orchestra. I felt slightly out of place among the glamorous guests. As I stood near the buffet table, a man walked in. Tall, elegant, wearing a classic black suit. There was something calm yet powerful about him. When our eyes met across the room, I felt a spark I couldn't explain. He smiled, and my heart skipped a beat. He made his way toward me, moving gracefully, as if time slowed just for that moment. When he finally stood in front of me, he said softly, "You look like you don't belong to this crowd." I laughed nervously. "You might be right," I replied. He extended his hand and said, "Then maybe we both don't. I'm Prince." I froze. Prince? At first, I thought it was just his name, but later, I would find out it wasn't just a name. It was who he truly was. That night, we talked for hours. He wasn't arrogant or distant like I imagined royalty to be. He was kind, funny, and deeply thoughtful. The more he spoke, the more I felt my walls slowly crumble. When the night ended, he asked, "May I see you again?" Something in his eyes made me say yes before my mind could say no. And that's how it all began, the story of how I met my prince. After that night, my life changed in ways I couldn't have imagined. Prince kept his promise. He called the next day. His voice was warm, calm, and gentle, and every word he spoke seemed to carry a quiet sincerity that made me feel special. We began meeting often, sometimes at quiet cafes, sometimes for long walks by the park. He wasn't like anyone I had met before. He listened more than he talked, and when he did speak, his words were thoughtful. He never bragged, never tried to impress me. Yet somehow, he impressed me without even trying. Still, I couldn't ignore the mystery surrounding him. There were times when his driver waited nearby or when his phone would ring with what seemed like official calls. I didn't ask too many questions. I didn't want to ruin the magic by being curious too soon. One evening, as we sat by the lake watching the sunset, I turned to him and asked, "Prince? Is that really your name?" He smiled softly. "Yes, but not just my name. It's also my title." My heart stopped for a moment. "You mean, you're actually a prince?" He nodded gently. "From a small kingdom you've probably never heard of. My family values privacy, which is why I've been keeping it quiet. I wanted you to know me, not the title." I stared at him, speechless. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. A prince? A real one? And he's been sitting here beside me all this time? "I didn't mean to deceive you," he said, his eyes sincere. "But I wanted to be sure you liked me for who I am, not what I am." I looked at him, feeling a strange mix of disbelief and tenderness. "So, when you first spoke to me that night, you already knew who you were?" He chuckled. "Yes, but that night I didn't feel like a prince. I felt like a man who had finally found someone who made him feel human again." Those words melted my heart. I had spent years believing fairy tales didn't exist, yet here I was, sitting beside a real prince who spoke with such honesty that I almost forgot the crown that came with his name. Before we parted that night, he took my hand and said, "Please, don't treat me differently. I just want to be the man who makes you smile." I nodded, though part of me knew that our story was about to become far more complicated than I ever imagined. When I got home, I looked at the stars through my window and whispered to myself, maybe fairy tales do exist. But little did I know, love stories with princes aren't always simple. The world outside was about to test the truth of his heart, and mine. The days that followed felt like a dream. Prince and I spent beautiful moments together, laughing, sharing secrets, and learning about each other's worlds. But soon, reality began to slip through the fairy tale. News spread quickly. One morning, I woke up to see his picture on television. Headlines flashed. Prince Adrian spotted with a mystery woman. My phone buzzed endlessly with messages from friends. Some were curious, others judgmental. My quiet, ordinary life was suddenly exposed to the world. When I saw him that evening, his face looked troubled. "I'm so sorry," he said softly. "I wanted to protect you from this." I smiled weakly. "It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong." He took my hand, his eyes full of regret. "But you don't understand. My family, my kingdom, they have expectations. They already planned who I'm supposed to marry." My heart sank. "Planned?" He nodded. "It's a royal arrangement. It was decided long before I met you. But I can't imagine my life without you now." For the first time, I saw pain in his eyes, a struggle between duty and love. I didn't know what to say. A part of me wanted to beg him to choose me. Another part whispered that maybe love isn't always enough to fight against the world. That night, I cried quietly. My heart felt heavy. I had found my prince, but I was losing him to a crown. Days passed, and the distance between us grew. The calls became shorter, the meetings rarer. I knew he was fighting battles I couldn't see, between family, tradition, and his own heart. One evening, he called and asked to see me at the same lake where he had revealed his secret. I went, my heart trembling with fear of what he might say. When I arrived, he was standing under the same tree, his face pale but determined. "I've spoken to my family," he said. "They want me to end this. They say you're not one of us." Tears filled my eyes. "And what did you say?" He took a deep breath. "I told them I love you." My breath caught. "They said love isn't enough," he continued. "But I told them without love, even a crown feels empty." I ran into his arms, holding him as tightly as I could. For a few minutes, we forgot about the world. It was just us, two souls who met by chance, now fighting for something bigger than either of us imagined. But as the wind whispered through the trees, I realized the truth. Our love might be strong, but the storm was far from over. That night, as I watched him drive away, I whispered through tears, "Please, come back to me, my prince." Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The fairy tale that once filled my heart with warmth was now wrapped in silence. Prince had gone back to his country, back to royal duties and endless expectations. We still spoke sometimes, but the conversations grew shorter, filled with pauses that neither of us knew how to fill. Every night I sat by the same window where I used to dream of love. Only now, I wasn't dreaming. I was remembering. Remembering the way his eyes softened when he looked at me, the sound of his laughter, the way he said my name like it was the most beautiful word in the world. But distance changes things, not just miles. It changes hearts, too. Rumors began to spread again. I saw news of him attending royal events, standing beside a woman everyone called the perfect princess. My heart broke quietly. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to hear answers that would tear me apart. One night, I received a letter. It was from him. The handwriting was familiar, strong, elegant, and full of emotion. "My dearest love, not a day passes that I don't think of you. But I'm trapped in a world that doesn't understand love the way we do. Every word I speak, every move I make, is watched and judged. I can't bear the thought of you being hurt because of me. Please live your life freely. Don't wait for me. But know this, no matter where I am, my heart belongs to you. Forever yours. Prince. Tears fell on the paper as I read those words over and over again. How do you let go of someone who loved you so deeply, yet couldn't stay? For months, I tried to move on. I focused on my work, spent time with friends, tried to smile again. But deep inside, a quiet ache remained. I had loved a man who belonged to another world, a world I could never truly enter. One afternoon, I went back to the lake where we first sat together. The same tree stood tall, its leaves whispering softly in the breeze. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Maybe in another life, we'll get it right." Just then, I heard a familiar voice behind me. "You said that before, didn't you?" I turned, and there he was, Prince. Standing right there in front of me, no guards, no formality, just him. I froze, unable to speak. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. He smiled gently. "I couldn't stay away. I've made my decision." My heart pounded wildly. "What decision?" He took my hand, his eyes filled with determination. "I'd rather live one lifetime with you than 1,000 years without love." Tears streamed down my face. After all the distance, all the pain, he chose love. But what would it cost him? For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The man standing before me wasn't just a prince. He was the man who had fought against destiny to be with me. The world may have told him to walk away, but love had brought him back. "Are you sure?" I asked softly, my voice trembling. "You'll lose everything." He smiled, his eyes glistening with quiet strength. "Then I'll lose it with pride. Because what's the use of a crown if it means living without the one I love?" I felt tears stream down my cheeks. I reached for his hands, holding them tightly. "But your people, your family, they won't understand." "I've spoken to them," he said calmly. "It wasn't easy. My parents were heartbroken. But I told them this: every kingdom needs a ruler who knows love, who understands what it means to choose the heart over power." He paused, brushing away a tear that fell from my eye. "I may never wear the crown they planned for me, but I will build a life where love is the crown." In that moment, I saw not a prince, but a man. Brave, kind, and willing to risk everything for something pure. The next few months were not easy. The media had stories, the world had opinions, and yet we stood together. The palace made an official announcement that Prince Adrian had chosen to step away from royal duties to live a private life abroad. Some people criticized him. Others called it the greatest love story of the decade. We moved quietly to a small town near the sea. Life there was simple. No guards, no rules. Just the sound of the waves, the morning sun, and laughter that filled our little home. He often cooked breakfast, claiming he was terrible at it, but I always ate every bite. We took evening walks, hand in hand, just like any other couple in love. One evening, as we watched the sunset from our balcony, he turned to me with a soft smile. "You know, you never really lost your prince," he said. "You just helped him find what truly matters." I laughed and leaned my head on his shoulder. "And what's that?" He whispered, "Love, real love." Years passed, and though life had its challenges, we never forgot how it began. Two souls who met by chance, who defied expectations, and chose love over luxury. We didn't have a palace, but our hearts were home. Sometimes, when the night is quiet, I still think back to that first evening at the gala, the moment our eyes met. I smile and whisper to the stars, "Fairy tales do exist. Mine just happened in real life." And beside me, my prince, no longer wearing a crown, but carrying a heart full of love, reaches for my hand and says, "And I'd choose this life with you, again and again." Because in the end, true royalty isn't found in titles or thrones. It's found in love that never gives up.